This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everyone.
Hey, Jameson.
Hello.
Hopefully you guys are staying warm and out of the snow.
All the above, yep.
I'm going to wait just a couple more minutes, see if more people join here. We had about 30 to 40 that reserved spot for tonight, so give us a couple more minutes.
Hey, Kayla, it's Renee Heil again. I don't know if you want us to announce our presence or not with all the people, but just to let you know.
Awesome, thanks. Yeah, I see it coming up on the attendees list. It's nice because I can see names.
All right, cool. Well, I'm going to mute myself so I can just listen, okay?
Perfect. Yeah, if you're coming in, I'm trying to mute people as they come in. Back. I'll probably be muting people as they come in, just because it's hard to do that, especially if you're calling in from somewhere too. All right, well, for the sake of being respectful of everyone's time, I'm going to get started here. The nice thing is this will be recorded. And so I will upload this to our YouTube channel for Select and then share it with all the families that have access to Hudl this year. So let me just pop on to share my screen here. And if you could stay muted until the end, I will have a time at the end for questions. So just make sure that you're muted so we don't get any feedback in the meantime. But let me show my screen here. All right, so you are at our Hudl Workshop. You're in the right spot. Thank you so much for being here. I see that 25 were able to make it. I'm sure if we had held this in person, there would be far fewer than that. So I hope you're cozy and warm and somewhere that is safe for the night. listening to us here. So for the Hudl Workshop, my goals really are that I can answer specific questions left on the Google form. So those of you that signed up on that form that was sent out and left a question, I actually made sure that I answered all of those in this presentation. So if something doesn't get answered that you felt like was written in there, just make sure that you either ask at the end or shoot me a message so I can get your question answered. And then, like I said, if I can't answer anything in this, or you have a question tonight that I'm not sure the answer, I'll do my best to make sure that I get that done for you through our Hudl rep that we work with. I'm by no means an expert on Hudl. I have some experience with it on the high school side of things and now on the club side. So actually this presentation has helped me get some more information on it and feel more and more comfortable with it. But like I said, if I can't answer a question, I will find it for you. So highlights is really the big thing that people are asking me about. And so quality highlights are going to include a few seconds before and after the play. So if there's a great big celebration after the play, then if that contact ends the rally that you're highlighting, then just make sure you include that too, because that is actually really important to people watching it. If the contact doesn't end the rally, show the next job of the player. So for example, after serve receive, show coverage, or after a set, show coverage. Just show what comes next if it's a first or second contact and you're looking to highlight the whole play. The total length of each highlight should be 1 to 3 minutes. And I think people have some more basic questions than what I'm going through now. Just know that I'll probably be looping back to some of the other things that have to do with highlights as well. The total length should really be 1 to 3 minutes. And that's not necessarily the one highlight for the whole season. That's going to be the highlight that is the one you're featuring for that tournament or for that opponent. So you might have multiple 1 to 3 minute highlights on your page. It's better to have more frequent highlights that are shorter rather than one huge highlight, because that would be really lengthy and the probability that a coach is going to sit and watch the whole thing is not very likely. So on the Hudl page, and I'll show you what a page looks like for an athlete at a point here in the presentation, but if you have multiple highlights that are either labeled by the date and or the tournament type or the opponent, then a college coach that goes to your daughter's website on Hudl can actually take a look and see, oh, this is what she was doing in January, and here's what she's doing in May, and see some improvements. So it's actually helpful to kind of have them archived on there. Using arrows or circles to show your athlete prior to the play, especially if it's a play that doesn't terminate the rally, if you're showcasing a serve receive pass, for example. And I'll show you how to do that as well with how to shadow or highlight your athlete on the screen. A couple more things. Don't repeat the same rep over and over. These are short. They should be short and sweet. So the goal is that you're showcasing some range so that you show as many different looks of the same skill as you can. Remember to only show good outcomes of the skill. So if you're showing a good pass or a good dig, it should be perfect. It should be right to target. Attack should result in kills. Blocks should result in kills or block for points. A set should end in an assist for a kill. Name the highlight the opponent or the tournament name and the date, so someone who accesses it can actually clearly see what they're watching. People have asked me about music. You can add it, but it's definitely not necessary. Sometimes the background noise of the gym is fun with big celebrations too, so it's not going to add or take away. It's really a personal preference. Who should make the clips? Preferably the athlete. They can learn actually about their play as they grab clips. They have to go back and watch things, so that's helpful and they can learn from that. But I do understand all of your daughters are extremely busy besides volleyball, and maybe having a parent help pull some highlights is good too, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I recommend making a highlight after each event. Teams that I've had in the past, I've actually had like homework for recruiting prior to and after events where they need to reach out to coaches before an event. I do have lists of coaches who are signed up for events. So if you ever are wondering what college coaches are going to be attending an event that your daughter is going to, you can email me and I can pull that off of a website called University Athlete. They're not always perfect. The problem is that the University Athlete is only as good as the coaches that sign up for it. And often coaches will register for that weekend's tournament as they're walking into the venue. So the closer to the time to the event, the better, but I can at least like the week of give you a rough estimate of who's planning to be there, because in order to get the rosters on University Athlete, the coach has to kind of RSVP for that. The best highlights are against high quality opponents. And I think people think of highlights and they think highlights against anyone mean the same as highlights against certain teams, and that's not necessarily true. For open level opponents, or one's team should really be focusing on open level teams that they're playing against. So anybody else that's going to tournaments and playing in that same division. For our twos teams, and our 15 threes team that have huddled, it's going to be important that they look for high level opponents that are maybe at or slightly above their level. So, it's kind of just thinking about speaking the same language, where if we play against a team, if the 16 ones that I'm coaching play against another 16 ones team, but it's a city team, maybe Chaska 16 ones, that wouldn't necessarily be a team going to play open level events. And so although we might have great highlights on that, it's not going to mean the same to a college coach as somebody who's comparing more apples to apples for them, because a college coach will understand what a 16 open level opponent looks like. What should each position include in their highlight is another question that I get. And so I have a slide for each position that I'll read through here quickly, and they're listed in order of importance. So as I go through, whatever one you see at the top for that position is the most important to get the best looks at. So for setters, make sure you show assists. That means that it results in a kill. An attempt would be a set that you set your hitter and the play continues on. Show a range of assists, so showing setting different attackers and off different types of passes, because that shows the range of setters' footwork to get to balls. Giving hitters one-on-one, so a hitter getting the opportunity to have just one blocker or a big seam in the block. That's actually a huge job of setters at high levels, so coaches will want to see that too. And then specifically running middle sets, especially in defensive transition, is a really good way to gauge setter skill level, because that's a really high level skill to be able to do well. Defense, make sure that you are showing digs that go to target, and for a setter that's going to often be to the libero so they can set out of system. Blocking as well, different hitters in different types of sets, blocking to end the rally. If you're a setter that only plays in the back row, that's not going to be a deal breaker that you don't have blocking. Like I said, once you get really down past the assists and the range of assists, these last 4 bullet points are really just like a cherry on top type thing. They're not going to be things that people offer you or don't offer you, or are interested or not interested in you as a primary thing. Dumping resulting in a kill, that's actually further down the list than people think. A lot of college coaches will get highlights of just the setter dumping. And the reason why that is less weighty for them is just because it's commonly felt like that's a skill that can be taught, and not something that is maybe instinctual or as a result of training something over and over. And then serving is going to be at the bottom for every skill, because honestly, nobody's going to get an offer to their favorite school based on their serving. They may end up in a role that can do that, but coaches are going to be looking for other skills first. And if you're highlighting a serve, it should result in either an out-of-system pass, a 1 pass, or an ace for a 0 pass. For outside hitters, the number one thing coaches are looking at is attacking, and that's going to be different sets. And so that doesn't necessarily mean you have to run different plays. That could mean that you pass behind the setter in rotation 1 and you get some good looks there. And it could mean like different quality of sets. So an auto system set, in system, ones that are inside the court, maybe a little wide, and what can they do with those too. And then attacking different areas of the opponent court. Passing and pass to attack is important with outsides, because with limited subs, outside hitters, even that only play front row, are often going to have to serve receive in a rotation or 2. So if you have any highlights of a play where your athlete passes and then has to transition and get set to attack for a kill, that's going to be good to highlight too. Defense and blocking are further down the list for outsides, still important, but different hitters and types of sets, and then blocking to end the rally. And then, like I mentioned before, for opposites, attacking is still at the top. Depending on who you talk to, they might be recruiting somebody that's a stronger block as an opposite, because that's more of a priority versus attacking. So those could be interchangeable, but I think in general, people still want opposites who can score points more than they care about opposites who can block well, and then they train both. And again, like with the outside, attacking different areas of the opponent court and blocking different hitters, different types of sets, blocking to end the rally. Not just a block that went up. Maybe a positive touch is a nice thing to show, but honestly, it's going to be, if it's a highlight reel that's 3 minutes long or less, you're going to want to showcase balls that went down to the floor for a point. Serve receive passing, if they pass. In general, they're not going to get recruited as an opposite for passing, because that's a role often other people have a bigger role to play in. Defense as an off blocker is on there, but down the list. If you have a nice defensive play where they come in and dig a ball under the block and then transition out, excuse me, that can be a good one to highlight too. And then serving, if you happen to serve, again, not a deal breaker. Often opposites are not 6 rotation players. So if you don't have any highlights of that, that is okay. For middle blockers, attacking is still going to be the priority too. And again, like opposites, you may have schools that are looking more at middles for the blocking role than offense, but offense is going to be the priority most often. Middles hitting different kinds of sets and then hitting different areas of opponent court. And the big thing with middles to include is that you have kills where you show the whole route where the hitter had to go block a ball. The middle had to go out and block a ball or go in front of them and block, transition off, and then come in and hit. And if they get a kill on that, that's a play that you want to highlight. And then blocking as a primary job for middles, being able to go pin to pin. So maybe you go block out on the right side and then you have to run across and you block the other side, and that is the point results from that block. I would rewind and show more of that rally so they can see how hard they work in transition, because really middles that are available that work really hard to be doing their job every time, whether they're touching the ball or not, are the ones that get noticed the most by college coaches. So you just want to make sure that you're showing that they not only can they score points, but they can be in the right spot defensively and then be available on the other side of the play too. And then if they do serve and dig in that rotation, you can go ahead and put some of that at the end if you have great ones, but you're not going to be a middle getting recruited for your serving and your digging. And lastly, libero or defensive specialist. Serve receive is going to be the #1 thing over defense. Serve receive is more important than defense in nearly every setting for a college coach, as far as prioritizing what they're looking for in a DS or a libero. What you want to show with serve receive is different kinds of serves. So can they receive short and deep? Can they receive serves that go in seams on both sides of them? Different parts of the court, can they receive in left back, middle back, and right back? Quality of the pass should be a 3.0. That's if you're unfamiliar with the quality of pass, 3.0 is a ball that a setter does not have to move for, maybe moves 1 step. On defense, it should be shown that they can dig against all different hitters. So even if they only play in 1 spot in the back row, can they dig for a quality dig against hitters in each spot along the net? And then if your daughter does play a different base, if they play in different spots, maybe depending on the match or the lineup, those are good things to show too for some versatility. Out of system setting would be the 3rd thing. The libero often will take the 2nd ball on the team or the DS. And if you don't have any reps of that, that's okay. But if that is a job of your daughter on their team, make sure that you show only out of system balls that result in a kill. Coverage is great as a libero or DS, along with the hustle pursuit plays, because those are big things that people are looking for that can differentiate 2 DSs or liberos that are similar. Coverage, you just want to make sure you show that it's a positive touch that continues the rally. And then serving, again, at the very end, because it's not going to be even near the top for anybody, but that's going to be something that results in out of system pass or an ace. So how to make a highlight, I'm actually going to pull this up. This might be the single most important thing that I show you all today. Shout out to Lakeville South. I believe Jazz from Lakeville is one of their featured athletes in this. And it's kind of funny now. Jazz plays at Minnesota Select, so you get to see a quick clip of her. But it's just, I'm going to show this because I think that this is going to answer a lot of the questions I got about highlights. So here we go.
I'm going to walk you through how easy it is to make highlights on Hudl. Once match video is in your account, it's time to create highlights. Highlights can be created from multiple moments across different matches and will live on your public Hudl profile. Open a video you want to create highlights from. If it hasn't been tagged yet, use the timeline to scroll through the match. Once you've found a moment you want to use as a highlight, click Create Clip. If your coaches have tagged the video, use the filters on the right side to find moments you've been tagged in or specific types of stats, like digs or kills. Add individual moments by right-clicking on the tag and selecting Clip the Tag. Or add all the tags you filtered for by clicking Add to your clips. In the Your Clips panel, select your newly created clip to review its duration. Make sure it's capturing the full length of your skill. Remember, most recruiters will want to see full rally, not just a few seconds. If you want to edit its length, click and drag the handles on the timeline. The magnifying glass icon can be used if you want to zoom out on the timeline to extend its length even more. When you're done editing, click Save Clip. Do this for every moment you want to highlight from that match. Now that you have your clips created, it's time to save them as highlights to your profile. To add all the clips listed, simply click the star icon, or you can select each clip one by one. You'll know they've been saved as your highlights when you see a confirmation message. Repeat those steps on any match you have highlights from. Once highlights are created, navigate to your profile to see them. The last step will be to make those into a show-stopping reel. Click Edit on the game highlights you just created. Once the editor loads, you'll see options to add other highlight clips, slides, themes, pictures, and music. You want to create your title slide first. Include all relevant information a recruiter would need to know, like your name, organization, position, and jersey number. Now you want to add all your clips, most likely from various matchups. Once you've highlighted all your top plays from all your matches, they'll show up as options to include in any highlight reel. You can easily organize them by adding text slides to create skill sections. Be sure to order all your highlights in a logical way. You want your top 10 clips to play first to really wow the recruiter. Then follow them up with your. This is the one part I'm going to disagree with them on. Often in other sports, is can everybody hear me? Can somebody unmute and tell me if you can hear me?
We can hear you now. You went out for a few minutes.
All right, great. That was basically the gist of the video. The rest they go through and they talk about adding music to the reel. Like I said, I'm going to send this presentation out so you'll have the link to this, but I think that piece of making highlights was the thing I got the most questions about. So I wanted to show that during this too. All right, how to upload from a video file was another question that I got pretty often. And two will be you can upload from the raw video up to your Hudl. So if you're using any other type of way to capture the video, you can go ahead and use whatever the you can use a file type. MP4 for sure works. And this short video will show you how to do that. Again, I'm going to send you out this presentation, so I'm not going to go through to show this video because there was just a couple people that needed it. But this is where you can find it if you're having issues with uploading instead of going directly through the Hudl app. So Hudl management for our team, some of this has been communicated and some of it's been a little bit evolving as we figure out what this means for our club and how we're going to best manage it. So they gave us 5 kits to use between teams on a rotating basis, and I fought very hard that it was ridiculous that we paid for 10 teams and only got 5 kits, and I was really quickly shut down. They weren't going to budge on it at all. So 5 kits, they said, is the max to give to any club that has any level of membership with them. So luckily, though, we have a lot of families with devices that once somebody has decided they want to be the one recording, they just feel more comfortable with their own device. So we have a bunch of teams that have opted out of kit rotation just due to using their own devices, which has helped in a great deal of the teams that need it to make sure that those teams have it more often. And coaches have access to this. I actually made a schedule based on teams' tournaments, when they need to be where, and then made a rotation schedule. So coaches have that. on your teams, and they have information on when your team does not have a kit. If you haven't been asked yet, let your coaches know or let me know so I can check in with them, because they know which weekends they won't have access, and they need to reach out to families to let them know that somebody needs to contribute with their own maybe iPad or phone or GoPro to upload it. And if you are a parent that's consistently filming for your team, let me know, because I can give you your own Hudl login. And I've done that for some families already, just to keep the process really simple. Can families archive match film was another question that I got. And full match video can be downloaded via the download links, and coaches have access to that, and I do too. So if you can email your coach and let them know if you have a full match that you'd like. For example, the most common reason people need this is there's a college coach that wants a match from start to end, nothing highlighted or nothing chopped or clipped. And so you would email your coach for club and say, hey, I'd love this match against this opponent. They send you the download link. And then my recommendation is that you download that to your computer and put that on YouTube. And if you have a Gmail account, you actually have a YouTube account too, because they link together. And so I would just make a YouTube page for your athlete, and you can make it hidden. You can make it searchable. You can make it only findable with a link that you directly share. And then you can keep full match film on there too. So it's just another way to have access to it. As far as the match goes, like if you want to just if you want to send the download link to a college coach and skip the whole YouTube process, you can do that too. So the download link gets sent through an email, and you could just go ahead and forward that to a college coach. I've done that before too, with coaches asking me about athletes, just because I haven't had time to put it on YouTube, and I've never had a problem with that either. But here are the instructions to Hudl's page that show for a coach, if somebody is looking to get a downloadable match and their club coach here at Select does not know how to do it, you can click here, or you can contact me and I can also help you too. Can highlights be downloaded from Hudl is another really common question that I get, and I'll show you here the instructions for it. And if you want, the cheapest way is just the digital version, and I'm not sure why anybody would want beyond the digital version of this, but if you go to Hudl and go to highlights, and then you go to the highlight that you're looking for, once that highlight's open, it's going to give you a button that says order. And if you want a DVD, again, I'm not sure why you'd want a DVD, maybe just as a backup option, but people typically don't send physical copies of DVDs anymore because coaches want them on their devices. So the cheapest version is the download only for $9. And if you'd like HD, you can go ahead and upgrade on that too. So that billing is separate from the billing that we send for our Hudl account, so you can check out with your credit card right at that time. How can I link my daughter's high school account and her Minnesota Select Hudl account? Many high schools have the same Hudl platform. The email address for login has to be the same for both for that to work. And so your Minnesota Select account was actually set up with whatever email was listed under the athlete email address when you registered. So when you registered for tryouts with Minnesota Select, you had to put an athlete email address, and often that was a parent's email address. So some of you have already contacted me to make that change so it goes somewhere else. But if you want it to be the same as their school account, you just need to email Paige, and this is her email address here. And that's going to be, you need to include with your request that it's what your daughter's name, your team, her current email address that she uses to log in, and then what you'd like it changed to. Just make sure she knows which email address is currently being used for her high school account before you make that email request, so that it's really easy for them and they don't have to go searching. Another question I got was who owns the video on Hudl, and I specifically asked this question to our Hudl rep today because I wasn't quite sure. She said, we own the video uploaded to Hudl. We have rights to download and distribute as we wish. Where we don't get the rights to do that for free is with the highlights, because they are made within their platform, so they would like to charge a fee if you're going to pull them off of their website with their advertising and with their information and interface that's kind of around it. Hudl Assist is something that is coming. It'll be after this next weekend for those going to Triple Crown, and those who don't, it'll be after your first qualifier. That's a service that tags a match, so it's literally sends the video away. Somebody, some lovely soul, bless their heart, sits there and tags every contact for the match, every dig, every set, every assist, every kill, every serve. And so it comes back to you within 24 hours and it shows a box score, like statted of those skills, but then it also pulls up video based on those too. So like you were noticing in that video, it was showing making highlights with tagged video. That's what this is referring to. So we only have 30 credits or matches. A credit is just going to correspond with one match. We only have 30 per team, so we're just going to be a little conservative with where we use them. We're not going to use them for Moulton or Minnesota Select playdates. We're going to use them for events that have opponents that are going to be really likely to help your daughter show the comparable competition across the net. So I will actually take charge of submitting those. I'm not going to make coaches do that too. It's a little complicated. You have to put what rotation each team is in, and it's a little time consuming. So I'm going to take that off their plate and take care of it. So after Triple Crown and after qualifiers, they will get notification that things have been tagged, and then it will be a really, really easy process and quick process for your daughter to make a highlight reel, because she can go call up all of her kills and it will clip them all together, and then she can call out a highlight and it will be really seamless. So like I said, I'll take care of submitting those matches, but that's what you can expect after Triple Crown next weekend and then qualifier matches too. Highlight visibility. So I actually today just updated our roster pages, and so I'll show you what that looks like. When you log in, you're going to see right above the roster now for each of our Hudl teams, a little ad for their highlight page. So it looks like my screen is still loading here a little bit. I apologize if the internet's slow. So you're going to click here, and I think actually even once we get the team photos, I'll probably pop those in below this just so this is really visible and like the first thing people see. They know they're going to the roster, so they will scroll down to this, but I don't want this to get lost in the page. So that will bring you to your team page, and it just looks like another roster page, but it's with those athletes. And then they can be clicked on to go to their Hudl highlights. So that's a new thing that I added today. I'm excited to see how that works. Please have your daughter take the time to update her athlete profile. I will actually put headshots. Once we get them back from clicks, I will put headshots for each of those that don't have a picture once we have them. So if your daughter doesn't want the picture that's on there right now, often those that have a high school account, it's linked already. And so they have like a headshot for high school on there. If they don't want that, just have them remove it, because anybody that's blank, I'll put their Minnesota Select headshot on there. And then the cover photo can also be updated too. So once you click on somebody, I just clicked on Madison's here. She's the top one on the list for our team. You can see what it looks like when you go and log in. And so I would encourage all of you to tell your daughters to go and edit the profile. Edit, you're going to get a chance to put in what their class year is. You're going to be able to also add some athletic and academic information that coaches can see. So standing reach can go and vertical reach, volleyball achievements. You can actually on the academic upload a transcript if you'd like, add any awards or achievements here too. This part, like this piece of it with the profile, will be shown when I share this with people who are verified through Hudl. So that doesn't necessarily go like out into the world when they're searching for you, but to have it updated is a nice place to just have it in one spot, especially for me, because I often get contacted and need information on people. And if I just have it and I don't have to reach out to that athlete, it can speed up the process a little bit. The link to your daughter's highlight page. So actually, if I go back here to Madison's page, if you are on the highlights, you can see there's a share link that's going to be the page that you use when you go and put this in an email, and then it's going to be when you put it. Let me go back here and get back to the main page. It's going to be what you put into your emails too. So if once you're on that main page, your daughter is there, it's the share button, and then copy the URL is going to be how they get that there. And you can actually share an individual highlight, like if you just want to show one thing, but I would recommend that you keep this more like a portal and then you share the whole page. But again, if you have one event and you want to just follow up with somebody on that one event, you can do that too. Oh boy, now we're back at the beginning. Bear with me here. All right. The other thing that's nice too is Hudl does have a strong presence on Google. If you try it, you go Google your daughter, volleyball, If your high school uses Max Preps, that will also probably come up right away. But then your Hudl account will also be something that comes up pretty quickly if a coach just types your daughter's name into Google to see what pops up. How can you share full matches was another question that I got too. And as I mentioned before, you can either just forward that email with the download link, or you can download it yourself and upload it to YouTube and share that YouTube link. All right, I'm
I
back.
can see you moving again. I can hear you now, Kayla.
There we go. Are there any questions while we wrap up here? All right, well, if you have a question, you can type it in, or you can go ahead and unmute yourself and let me know.
Do you know how to highlight a player during the play?
Yes, so you can actually go back on, like once you're at the end of your highlight, you can actually add it there, but you can add it as you're building the highlight too. So Mike, I'm gonna show you the link that it shows it in, because it's gonna be a lot more helpful than my crummy explanation here. How do you make a highlight? This part here will show you how to do that. It's actually later in the process than earlier. When you start clipping out things, it's going to show you that you can draw on it, and that's not when you're going to put the shadow or the bubble or the arrow. It's going to be at the end once you pull all of your highlights together. So it's going to be, if you were pulling two of these clips together into a highlight, it would be in the editing process at the end. But like I said, watch this one, this how to make a highlight, when I send this out after the presentation. And if you can't find it on there, let me know and I can specifically log into yours and show you how to do that.
Thanks.
Yeah, any other questions? All right, well, I'll stick around here for a little bit if people want to hang out, if they have other questions, but I
Kayla,
appreciate.
Dan Hop typed one in.
Oh, he did, great. Team Hudl account public to all teams, so everyone can see your videos and info. So yeah, if you go and, let's see here. Like if I Googled like Kendall on our team here. Oops. So I go in and Google Kendall, she has a Hudl account here that pops up right away. And so to answer your question, Dan, the page that I showed you that just has the individual athlete, so the page with the video, that's not going to be public. And again, I don't remember exactly what the athlete page looks like compared to what I'm looking at here, but it will only show the background and whatever Kendall has created that she has put on for a highlight or for clips. Let's see, someone else asked, coaches may contact you. Do you let the player and the parents know who contacted you? Yes. So a lot of times I will get an email from coaches and they say, hey, I'm looking for a 2020 outside, for example. Then I would ask them specifically what they're looking for in that, and then send along any athletes that kind of fit what they're looking for. Like some people are looking for a certain player that only touches 10 feet. Well, if we don't have anybody that fits that, I can give them some good prospects, but let them know that it's going to be a little different than what they needed. So then what I do is I follow up with the athlete and say, hey, so-and-so reached out. I gave them your name. but I'd love for you to be proactive and reach out to them. And I'll either do that by emailing the athlete directly or telling that team's coach to tell the athlete. But I'd prefer to go directly. Again, our coaches have a lot going on, and nearly all of them, this is not their full-time job. So I want to cut them out and not cut them out, but I want to make it as simple as possible for them and not overload them with being a middleman when that's my job and that's something that I enjoy doing. So I will often tell the athlete directly and then loop back with the coaches after the fact so that coaches know who to look for on courts based on who people are talking to. And that's another important thing about keeping your coaches in the loop if you're communicating with a certain school, because if they see them on your court at a tournament, they can go introduce themselves and then also follow up with you or with your daughter to let them know they should send out a thank you because so-and-so coach from a certain school was there watching. Would a 15-year-old go highlights from 14 season to get started now? Okay. So this question is about should you do current highlights or can you use from last season? It's a great question. The more recent, the better. It's really tough for high school is really hard for college coaches because it's so different around the whole country. So sending highlights from high school is not going to be super helpful because it's apples to oranges across the net often, but then more than that, they just have a hard time gauging what the level is of the play. So certainly I wouldn't do high school. I would say if you have AAU highlights that are quality and that's the only thing you have, then you can add that in. But when I think about like this parent, for example, has a 15-year-old, when I think about the growth from 14 AAU nationals in June to January of 15's year, just physically, it's going to be a big change. So I think the volleyball is going to look a lot different too. Like for the 16 ones, we're headed into Triple Crown this next weekend, and they all had to make a highlight reel for me last week. That was actually the homework assignment I gave them the night that we were canceled last Wednesday. So they had to go and do that. Well, we hadn't played a lot of open level opponents. We had a match against our 18 ones. We had a couple of quality opponents at our last Molten, but we didn't have a ton that were going to be able to be showcased. And so I really just had them focus on those and pull what they could. But really, the more recent, the better if you have to choose. Over last year nationals and now, I would say go with now. And if you don't have any opponents that are open level for your age group or higher, like older than you and open level, then still the recent is going to be better, and regardless of who's across the net. Hopefully that answers your question. If you have absolutely nothing, take the AAU ones, because a coach that gets an email without a video link in it is probably not going to go very much further than reading a couple lines and deleting it. Any other questions? You can type them in or unmute yourself. All right, well, like I said, I will stay put and let people log off as they need to. If you have any other questions, let me know. I will get to work on sending you this information, if not tonight, right away in the morning, on this PowerPoint, as well as the recording of this, if you had anybody that would like the information and wasn't able to attend tonight.
Thanks, Kayla.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
I appreciate
it. Great event.
Stay warm. Chris just asked a question about making a video per tournament. I definitely would. I think, especially the big tournaments, make a quick highlight after each tournament and then put that on your homepage. It's going to be a really helpful way for coaches to pull videos that they want to see against certain opponents or certain events or a certain time of the year. I think that's the best way to kind of keep people looking at your growth and development, is to have one per tournament. Good question.
Okay, last chance. Any questions?
What's that? Hello? Lisa?